Good evening. It's June 18th, 2025, and you're at the Stanislaus Council of Governments meeting. If we could go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Member Kiesa,
Here.
Member Graywall,
Here.
Chair Condit.
Here.
Member Condit,
Present.
Member Withrow. Member Lopez,
Here.
Vice Chair Carr,
Here.
Members Wallen. Here. Member Escutia Brayton,
Here.
Member Wright,
Here.
Member Graham, absent. Member Gilbert, not here. Alternate Member Roque,
Here.
Member Hernandez. Here. Member Phillips. Here. Member Gokin,
Here.
our Caltrans ex officio member.
Here.
Thank you. And we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on, we're gonna say the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry.
One nation under God, indivisible, with dignity for all.
All right, moving on to public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on any item not on the agenda. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. And do we have any public comment? Tony?
Great. Okay, how are you all doing? I'm the executive director for Move Transportation Services, Stanislaus. And all I want to do is just say that how inspired I was today. There was an event earlier today, and your executive director was honored and recognized. But the other thing that was so beautiful about it is that we had the Rosa, which is the twin, and she was the master of ceremonies. Erica was there, Rachel was there, and they shared inspirational conversations that they had with loved ones, with their family members, and they shared them with us. But I just want to say that we appreciate all of those leadership models, but especially Rosa. My understanding of what I heard today is that you've led this agency for 16 years. And I've only been around for about 1.5 years. And I know a little bit about leadership. I have a master's degree in leadership. And I can tell you that you hit the mark on all those things that I've learned and all those things that I wrote about in my thesis. And you continue to lead the way. We are inspired by you. You are exactly a gem here for this county and this region. And I want to tell you, you inspire me every day and continue to be the leader that you are. Okay, thank you.
What to say to that, Mr. Chair, but thank you, Tony. I really appreciate those kind words of yours.
Thank you, Tony. Any other public comment? Any online? Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. We're gonna be moving to the consent calendar. We do have a member request to pull, it was 5A, Mr. Wright, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So if we can, correction, any public comment on the consent calendar? Any other members like to pull any other the consent? Okay, if we can, I'll take a motion for 5B. I got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous. Go ahead with your discussion, Mr. Wright.
Okay, thank you. My question is on action item 6A, motion to adopt Measure L Master Funding Agreement for fiscal year 2025, 2026 through 2029, 2023. Motion was to, I'm questioning the motion, the way it reads. It was my understanding that we were going to have the 1% public awareness outreach program go to our management and finance for them to look at, make some recommendations on when the funds should go back to the cities and then for them to bring a report back to us in order for us to agree or look at how we want to return any excess funds back to our cities. And that's not how the motion is presented. So I do want some clarification on why it wasn't in our minutes for having our management and finance team look at it.
Thank you, Member Wright.
Do you want me to take that?
Yes, go ahead, Cindy.
So the motion includes what you just said, that we are going to be looking at the expenses for the 1%. But if you recall, the part about the deciding about the policy about what happens to the excess funds was going to be brought back to you all, and we will be doing that in the August agenda. However, just to let you know, we did take this back to the management and finance last 2 weeks ago when they had their meeting. They did have in their report the expenditures included. They had a few comments about a little bit more information that they wanted to have added to their report each month. It will go to them again in August before it goes to you. Talking about that, the policy about the excess funding. So when it comes to you all in August, it'll have their input into how that should.
And that's fine. I would like to have the minutes then corrected.
Okay.
That, part of the minutes were to have the finance and management committee look at our finances, make their recommendations, bring it back to you. I think it's important for the future that we have that in there. Thank you.
We will do that.
So do we need a
Monica, do
motion?
you need?
So, if I may, Member Wright, I wrote the motion down because there was extensive discussion on this item, and I know that you were the second on that item. The motion was to approve item 6A to include a detailed accounting in the Measure L Master Funding Agreement, which was done, and to direct staff to bring back policies back to bring the policies back to the board for future discussion. There was no specific reference to getting input from the Management and Finance Committee, and we can go back and look at, listen to the audio to verify, but what I have written down as part of that discussion for the motion did not include that. If you'd like us to take that as direction, we're happy to do that, because this will be coming forth in August, as Cindy identified.
I would like for you to take that for direction, please. I know we had a long conversation about having the management look at Measure 1. And,
Which
or
I think
the
we
1%.
did follow that this month. and we were
I
gonna-
understand that, but I just,
We'll put it in the record.
So are we going to table on the okay of 5A? Is that correction?
So, Member Wright, if it's okay with you, we could entertain a motion to approve the minutes, but staff will take direction to include management and finance in the 1% policy discussion process.
thank you.
I'll second his motion.
I got a first and a second. First, let me go back out to the public. Anyone like to speak on this regard? And then I'll bring it back to the policy board. I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, moving on, 6A, motion to accept the triennial performance audits of StanCog, Stanislaus Regional Transit Authority, and Turlock Transit Authority, and it's going to be done by Kathy Chambers of Moore and Associates. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kathy Chambers. I'm here representing Moore and Associates. We were engaged to prepare the TDA triennial performance audits for fiscal years 21-22 through 23-24.
Speak into the mic
Yes.
A little bit better.
All right, sorry. Do I need to say that again or can we move on? Okay, slide then. All right, a brief reminder of what this is. The California Public Utilities Code requires all regional transportation planning agencies and transit operators receiving Transportation Development Act funding to undergo a triennial performance audit of their activities. A performance audit is quite different from a fiscal audit, though the two processes do share some of the same characteristics. However, rather than focusing on the financials, we focus on compliance with the requirements of the TDA, transit operator performance, and how well each entity functions. Slide. Our audit process is pretty straightforward. We start with requests for specific data items with which we conducted desk review. This is followed by site visits, which were conducted virtually this year. Once we've gathered all required information, we prepare the audit report. We utilize the Performance Audit Guidebook published by Caltrans to guide this process. Slide. So we'll start by looking at STANCOG as the Regional Transportation Planning Agency. Here you can see the things we look at as part of the compliance review for the RTPA. These include having appropriate policies and procedures for TDA claims, as well as internal functions, having an unmet transit needs process and Social Services Transportation Advisory Council, providing oversight for transit operator productivity, submitting annual fiscal audits and reports to the state controller, and managing the triennial performance audit process. Slide. We also do a review of 5 functional areas for the RTPA, which are set forth in Caltrans Performance Audit Guidebook. While the compliance review looks at compliance during the audit period, the functional review looks at how the agency operated during the audit period as well as how it's currently operating. So this is largely due to the fact that the better part of a year has passed between the end of the audit period and the point at which we make recommendations. And so we want the functional review to reflect where each agency is now rather than where it was at the end of the audit period. Slide. STANCOG was found to be in compliance with 14 out of 16 of the relevant compliance items for the current audit period. One recommendation from the prior audit was determined to no longer be relevant as it pertained to the city of Ceres, which no longer operates a transit service. And there were 2 compliance findings and recommendations arising from this audit, as well as a recommendation that was not tied to a finding. Slide. The first finding was due to the late submittal of STANCOG's fiscal year 22-23 state controller report. This was due to a personnel change that occurred around the time the report was due, which resulted in it being late. The subsequent report was submitted on time, so we're looking at this as a one-time occurrence, and no action is needed, provided on-time submittals continue, and there's no reason to believe that they would not continue. Slide. The second finding was that several operator TDA fiscal audits were completed late. Under the TDA, it's one of the responsibilities of the RTPA to ensure TDA claimants submit their audits by the established deadline. While STANCOG has little control over this finding and whether the reports are submitted on time, it is taking appropriate measures in response to the late audits, which includes withholding TDA payments until the appropriate audits have been completed. This is also a finding for each of the operators, so we'll discuss that in a bit more detail in a few minutes. Slide. So the additional recommendation is for STANCOG to include MOVE as an operator for its next triennial performance audit. While this is not strictly required, we believe it is beneficial to include CTSA Article 4.5 recipients in the process to provide regular monitoring regarding the program. And STANCOG staff have already indicated that they will include MOVE in the next round of audits. Slide. Moving on to the transit operators. Here you can see some of the things we look at as part of their compliance review. These include submitting annual fiscal audits and reports to the state controller, confirming satisfactory CHP ratings, using TDA definitions of key performance indicators, and proper use of state transit assistance funding. Normally, this would also include compliance with the farebox recovery ratio requirements, but this requirement has been waived through fiscal year 25-26 through legislation subsequent to the COVID-19 pandemic. Slide. We also do a review of 7 functional areas for operators. As with the RTPA audit, the functional review looks at how the agency operated during the audit period as well as since then. Slide. STAN-RTA was found to be in compliance with 12 out of 13 of the relevant compliance items for the current audit period. 2 recommendations, which were included in the prior audits of the County of Stanislaus and the City of Modesto, were found to have been implemented, and there was 1 compliance finding and recommendation from this audit. Slide. So the compliance finding was the one mentioned above with respect to StanCog, which was that Stan RTA's fiscal year 22-23 TDA fiscal audit was completed late. This was determined to have been a one-time occurrence due to the agency's transition to a new financial management software. The subsequent audit was completed on time, so no action is needed as long as on-time completion of these audits continues. Slide. The city of Turlock was found to be in compliance with 9 out of 12 of the relevant compliance items for the current audit period. 2 recommendations included in the prior audit were determined to have been implemented, and there were 3 compliance findings and recommendations arising from this audit. Slide. The first compliance finding pertained to late submittal of the fiscal year 21-22 state controller report. Staff indicated that the cause of the late submittal was being short-staffed in the city's finance department due to turnover, which also included the loss of some institutional knowledge. 2 subsequent reports have been submitted on time, so no specific action is needed, provided this continues. City staff have also indicated that the staffing issues have since been resolved. Slide. The second compliance finding, which was discussed earlier with respect to StanCog, pertains to on-time completion of the TDA fiscal audits. None of the city's TDA fiscal audits were completed on time during the audit period. This issue was also caused by the staffing challenges in the finance department, which according to the city have been resolved. However, the city will need to work with its citywide auditors and TDA auditors to get its audits back on track, beginning with fiscal year 24-25. And as I indicated with respect to the StanCog audit, StanCog is taking the appropriate measures with respect to withholding TDA payments when the appropriate audit has not yet been completed. Slide. Finally, the third compliance finding is related to use of the TDA definition of full-time equivalent employee for its state controller reporting. The city noted that it is using the definition, but it didn't provide any documentation of this during the audit. This finding does not impact funding in any way, and our recommendation was for the city to demonstrate use of the proper definition as part of its next triennial performance audit. Slide. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Kathy. Any members of the board like to, or have any questions or comments?
So on the Turlock audits, it seems like they've been catching up slowly but surely. Is that still the pace that you see that they're?
I think that they have every potential to be caught up in fiscal year 24-25. I believe they said that the fiscal year 23-24 audit should be completed in November. And so the problem is with a municipal operator is they have to wait until that city audit gets completed before they can do their TDA fiscal audit. And so when the city audits get behind, it just snowballs with the TDA fiscal audits. So now that they have staffed up their finance department, there is every expectation that they should be able to get this back on track.
Okay. And they've been notified, I think, through us that they can't get their TDA money reimbursement until the audit's done. We've done that in the past. I think we did last year, if I remember correctly. Only last year or 2 years? I can't even remember now. But the reimbursements, they're not allowed to get reimbursements of the
Right,
TDA,
right.
just so everyone knows. It becomes a hardship, but it's, yeah, everyone's aware.
Reza?
The amount of the TDA payment withholdings, is it in such a large amount that it may negatively impact any city? Negatively impact them? Yeah, service. Word.
I
Do we
mean,
know that?
I don't know that off the top of my head. Rosa, do you happen to have that information?
No, I mean, that's, the city obviously is aware that
Mhm.
The next item, members, that you're going to be approving tonight is item 6C. Am I saying 6C? Yes, that item, and that's talking about their transit claims, and you will note that at that point. So the city is aware, so I think they're working on reserves, so.
We could talk a little bit more about that in the next.
In the
agenda
next
item.
item.
Can you please elaborate a little bit more? You spoke quickly and I didn't really comprehend your recommendation on this finding.
with regard to the audits. Basically, they need to get back into compliance by getting the audits completed on time. The TDA stipulates a deadline of 6 months following the end of the fiscal year, which is December 31st. The RTPA has the authority to extend that for another 90 days. So we generally take March 31st as the kind of the final deadline for getting this completed. And so that's the deadline that they're working up against, is the March 31st.
But can you repeat your recommendation for the second finding? They said it earlier.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. I don't have it written down. Can you go back to slide 16? Okay. So the way the recommendation was worded is to work with city and TDA auditors to ensure the TDA fiscal audit can be completed no later than March 31st. And that March 31st is following the end of the fiscal year. So 9 months from the end of the fiscal year. Does that answer your question?
But basically, your recommendation is to work closely with them to get it
Right,
done.
right. Make sure the city is getting its audit done so that the TDA auditors have the information they need to work with to get the TDA fiscal audit done.
Any other questions from policy board members? Seeing none, I'll go out to the public. Any public comment on this matter? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for either more comments or a motion.
Motion to approve?
I have a first. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Moving on to 6B, motion to adopt by resolution 24-38, the fiscal year 2025-26 unmet transit needs, UTN analysis report. And Cindy, you're up.
Good evening, members. Cindy Malekis, Director of Administrative Services. I will be taking this item tonight on behalf of Jean Folletta, who's unable to be here tonight. So this is our annual process to fulfill the requirements of the Transportation Development Act, the TDA, that requires us to reach out to the transit riding public to determine if they have any unmet transit needs that we can meet for them. So what does this mean? Well, the TDA requires that we do some outreach to the public to get their input, to get their comments. It requires that we do one public hearing, which we did before this board in March, to offer the public the opportunity to provide any comments they may have. Like I said, that is the requirement through the TDA, that one public hearing be held, but StanCog each year goes above and beyond that. We reach out to the public in a variety of different ways. This year, we focused on social media. Information about the public hearing was included in all the newspapers in the region, all 9 newspapers. It was in English and in Spanish. We also included information through our transit operators on the transit system, so people were aware that if they had any issues that they wanted to bring to our attention, they could during this time frame when we analyze all this. And I believe if you have read the report that we have, the link in your staff report too, we received close to 40 comments that with our transit staff, we work with the transit operators to determine if any of the comments can be addressed, even if they're not a specific unmet transit need, but maybe it's just maybe an operational recommendation. You know, we work with the operators to make sure that these are all addressed. And so this is the analysis that has been put together that we bring before you each year. The finding is that there were no specific unmet transit needs that were reasonable to meet this year. So at this point, we are asking for your approval to adopt this report.
Thank you, Cindy. Any questions for Cindy?
I think it's important to have the definition of what's because there are tons of unmet transit or unmet needs. It's, can we do it and can we afford it, right? If it takes away, who sets the threshold?
Thank you, member. That's a really great question. And I'm not sure if the staff report articulates the definition in the report, but there is a definition that was approved by this board. So every three years or 5 years, you're supposed to review this. And the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council, it's the group, it's by statute, the committee that is part of that reviewing of those definition. So we do have a definition in place that it's been reviewed by our social services group, and also it has been through their board. And it's not supposed to meet like 50% of a threshold for an operator if it's going to, because it could make the operator fail. So you have to be really careful of how these, what is the unmet need? I mean, sometimes we all would like to have transit in the corner of our house, but that's not feasible. That's not effective or efficient. So you got to review these things. And that's why this analysis is conducted on an annual basis to ensure that we're meeting. And I think what's good about what has happened in our county, and I'm really proud of this, is that through the leadership of this board, when we look at our operators, we used to have 5 when I first started working here, 5 operators, and it was a struggle for some of these operations when there's smaller agencies trying to meet these thresholds and these fare box recovery ratios. It was very difficult, and people still need to use the transit in those communities, but the cost is very expensive. And so anyway, so since then, moving forward, we have, Stan RTA. Stan RTA has consolidated the county and the city service of Modesto and the city of Ceres, and they are doing all the services with the exception of Turlock. We've seen a huge improvement in customer satisfaction. We've heard comments of customers saying that their service, but they're out there in the community. If they're changing a route, they're letting the community know why they're changing it, and they really are active. They're proactive. So I think that's helped a lot, because I do recall, and maybe some of you members that have been around have noticed that we used to have, when we had this unmet need, there was people lined up in here, letting their comments about how they felt about our transit service. And we have not had that, luckily, knock on wood, that we continue to do service. But we can only do it because we have a good, Stan RTA is doing a really good job in trying to meet those needs of our community. Thank you for that question. But yes, there is a definition, and in the future, we'll make sure that we include it here so you understand what you're following.
Thank you, Rosa. Any other questions from the board members?
I have one question then. So where would this be addressed in Turlock? Correct, but you just mentioned that people used to come here and talk about the meetings. Would this be the place that they come if they were concerned in Turlock?
Oh,
Or
yes.
do they have their
yes.
own community
Well, I'm
meetings regarding the transit system in Turlock?
Thank you, and that's a great question as well. Yes, so normally we would see, because the unmet need is a process that they know that the board is going to be allocating funds for transit, so the public would come here to let you know how they felt about whatever service it was.
Okay.
So if it would have been Turlock or Stan RTA, you would see members here. But yes, there's also, we do online, there's phone calls, there's letters, there's so many ways now that we have where people could even make comments, even if they can't make it here.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone from the public have comment on this that you'd like? And none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Moving on, 6C, motion to approve by resolution 24-39, fiscal year 2025-26 Transportation Development Act TDA apportionments for transit and other purposes and fiscal year 2025-26 allocations for transit. Rosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm taking this item also for Jean. She could not be here tonight. This is following now all these other steps that you just have seen tonight. Tonight we're talking a lot about transit. This is kind of a final step of our transit cost sharing procedures and our Transportation Development Act. what's critical tonight of what this item is that you're going to be considering is that you're going to be making two actions. And one, we start this process in the early part of the year when we bring to you an estimated amount of what we feel, or we work with our treasury controller of the county to see what receipts of funding we're going to be receiving for this county for transit. And so we come up with an estimate of a review of what the receipts are looking like. There's an analysis that it's done through that. And it was about $32 million that in February was brought to you to consider for the projections. And this was also signed off by our treasury. So we're basing on that number, there's a process that we need to do. The unmet need analysis that you just approved has to be conducted, and no unmet needs with, that are reasonable to meet need to be met. In this case, we didn't have any, so we could bring this item to you with, for you to consider. Now we go to the next step, which is our transit claims. Jean Falletta met with the transit operators on April 29th to review their projections of their budgets for the new year, and also with MOVE. And so at that meeting, they bring their budgets, they discuss them. Jean and her team reviews this. Based on all of that review is what you see in the packet, because you have the thresholds of how much they can receive. And you'll note that both operators, Stan RTA and Turlock, they have caps. They have ceiling caps that are approved by a process that we have that was called the transit cost sharing, and they're meeting all those the caps to do their operations. So tonight, your approval is also to approve on schedule one or two, page 37, 38, I think, of your packet. You'll note that there's a schedule that shows all the cities and jurisdictions, because through the local transportation funds, we could allocate bike and pedestrian funding for our cities and our county. So all of these are indicated here, and you'll note that off the $32 million, once you start deducting these formulas to go to our funding partners, to our cities and our county, and then the operators, it leaves the remaining, and there's no remaining reserve after the operators have claimed their funds. So for tonight's action is to approve the claims of our transit operators, and also to approve the claims for the other purposes of the local transportation funds.
Any questions for Rosa?
And as you'll note, that you're approving the claims, but as in the presentation that we just had before with our triennial audit, StanCog by statute cannot release any funds if certain agencies are not in compliance. So
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Where is that, how would that be reflected in these schedules, if at all?
it's not reflected on the schedules, but the staff report identifies that we are following the statute. And Monica, I don't know if you want to add.
If I may, that's reflected in the resolution approving this item, and the schedules are attached to the resolution. So the resolution is doing a number of things. First, it's approving the apportionments for transit and other purposes, which are on Schedule 1. That includes the non-motorized, which goes to all of the cities and the counties. Then specifically the allocations for transit, but then all of those apportionments and allocations are conditioned upon the specific recipient's compliance with all TDA requirements which are set forth in statute, including completion of the annual audit. So that's our resolution, is our binding action. That's what the board is approving. So that's where
So
that is
it
addressed.
states the policy, but it doesn't call out the municipality that is not in compliant with that.
Correct.
Nor is it necessary to do so.
It's not necessary to do so because the statute is very clear as what can and cannot occur, and so that's why we identify it that way in the resolution. And staff is aware, they've been working with that particular jurisdiction to help them get into compliance and kind of, move that process along. So this resolution does accompany any instructions that are given to the county auditor controller, and instructions are not given for payment for non-compliant jurisdictions.
I have a question then.
Go ahead, Mayor.
So what are the implications for the residents and the writers and the taxpayers for that situation? They're not getting the funding. How does that,
Well,
I mean, are they still able to meet the requirements for the,
so StanCog, it's obvious, as the auditor mentioned, we need to withhold the funds. So it's up to the jurisdiction to, continue the services. And at this point, I mean, the funding is not going to go anywhere because tonight, all you're saying is you're reserving their money until they're in compliance.
They fund it out of reserves, what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
They've been able to operate even though they haven't gotten
okay, so
reimbursement.
the services haven't diminished in any way? They
No.
still receive?
Well, and again,
Ridership.
that's a more clear question, because if the service is going to diminish, we don't know that. I mean, that we would need to ask the operator. of
Okay.
Turlock.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
So I think this comes to the discussion that we need to have, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time to have. So Turlock has been behind, but we believe that they're catching up on their TDA claims. The question is going to be on a go-forward basis that we've never had here on the transit operation, the efficiency of the transit operation. And there used to be, everyone sits and listens to me pontificate about what used to be, but prior to 2017-18 year, fare box recovery ratio was the basis of everything. That's how you judge the efficiency of the different. There was Rhoda, CAT, START, BLAST, and Modesto Max. And so the urban areas had a 20-cent recovery ratio that was necessary, and then the county had a rule route, and we were required to have 15 cents recovery. So every dollar spent on the system to operate, that percentage, 20% or 15%, had to be recovered. Rhoda couldn't do it. We ended up fining CAT because that's what we don't want to do. We're always looking for compliance, not to embarrass people, to get them to compliance, but it came to a point where there was no other way. So that's where the consolidation occurred. START was making the rural route because it was only 15 cents, was making their fare box, and Max was. I think those are the only two that, and then, SB 903, we got fare box recovery removed. Then the pandemic hit and the governor removed it all. It's coming back, I think, in 26, which is next year. It's coming back based on what is the best available numbers right now. Currently, Stan RTA, I think, is at 36 cents, which is extremely good. It's exceptional, quite frankly. And next year, I think it goes down to 27 or 28 is what they're proposing. Turlock's not coming anywhere near that. And that's a conversation that we need to have. I think they're about 2.5% right now in this calendar year, and expected to go down in next year. So when we have this discussion about efficiency, and I'm not going to ever tell Turlock what to do, because you have a right, as long as you don't have a metrics that you have to work by, you can run the system. And what it says to me is you guys are running more service than is necessary. But again, I can't put my finger on that and say that for sure. Or Stan RTA is running less service because they could actually run more often service. And so there's a balance between those two things. I'm not an operator. I'm not on the Stan RTA board anymore. So but that's the reality. But based on efficiency and tax dollars and everything else we're talking about, we need to figure out as a board and conversations with Turlock specifically. And I know sometimes we joke about it, but there may be an opportunity to consolidate the whole system. And I don't want to sit and tell any city that they have to, but if fare box recovery ratio comes back as the metric, it'll be as quick can be. You'll be in a position. And again, I don't want to put anyone in a position. We want to make sure everyone who wants to ride a bus can ride a bus and that there's a good system out there. So again, I think it's a fair conversation. I just don't know how to have the conversation because it's really, Turlock has to be present and not just you, but it's really the council has to be present, or it has to be a conversation with the council about where we're headed. And again, I'm not on the Stan RTA board, so that's still a discussion. Even if we wanted to consolidate, there has to be a will on all sides. But just based on what I've seen out of Stan RTA, which was disparate groups of transit agencies that weren't making it, to what it's become is pretty impressive. And it's a good model, and models don't always work out for the best. We know that. And this just happens to be one of those areas that it seems like they're clicking on all cylinders. So if anyone's got an idea, let me know.
I have a question for you, Vito. Are we setting Turlock or potentially other jurisdictions that might be in the same situation down the road up for failure if we are silent on this matter moving forward?
It's not, because right now, without any ratio, they have the metrics, they get their money, they run a good system, and they probably run too many buses. That's how good the system probably is. I'm just guessing, because when you look at ridership numbers, if you look in the audit, the ridership numbers have been going up for Turlock. The costs look like it's been flat, and I can't figure out the metrics on how it is. Either they're not, because they're only charging, they used to charge like $1.88, now it's down to 20 some cents a ride. So they're either having, because you remember LC Top, the low carbon, the transit agencies are able to give free days to ride and a free month, I think July. And Turlock has this uber successful program where you have a park and ride into the fair. You park at the college and they take people over. It's a free service. So I don't know if the ridership numbers have grown because of that. It's hard for me to work through those metrics without talking to Wayne York or people who are a lot smarter than me. But right now they can operate that way. I think that if tomorrow they reinstitute some sort of metric, maybe it's not fare box, but something along those lines, they will cut service drastically. They will raise rates. They will have to do something if they try. And then typically they gave you 3 years when you redid all your routes to come into compliance to try and make the routes work, if that makes sense. And after that, Riverbank, Rhoda, and Oakdale were in that situation. Cat was, and start the rural routes even at 15 cents. And remember, the rural routes have now gone to 20 cents, and Stan RTA is still making it. A loop out to Hickman, where they might have one rider or 2 riders potentially, and they run a loop every couple of hours out there. So it's just some thoughts. Food for thought. I think that we have to just have that conversation and say, can you improve this? And if you can't improve it, then we need to talk to Stan RTA to see if it's even a possibility to do it.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and I know Kathy's still here, and I don't want to put her on the spot, but she and I had this conversation. Because of the fare box right now, it's they don't have to do anything right now, but in 2026, that's being lifted. And we were talking that the state may be considering something different, right, Kathy? It's the fare box for the operators. It might be different. It might not be the same as before.
Right. So we don't know what the state is going to do. There is a transit transformation task force that is supposed to be dealing with, what comes next. But we won't have any insight into that for probably some time. I believe there's a report that's supposed to come out in October. I haven't heard anything about what they're considering. I suspect it's going to be one of 3 things. Either they're going to continue using fare box recovery ratio as a metric. I don't think that's likely. They're going to come up with some other kind of metric to use, or they're going to continue to waive it until they come to a decision. So, we just don't know. And I think it's really hard to make a decision at this level with respect to productivity when we don't know what that metric is going to be going forward.
All right, any other questions from policy board members? Go out for public comment. Any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for motion.
Motion to approve.
I got a first
Second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. All right, moving on to informational items. You can find those in the back of the agenda booklet. Caltrans report. Caleb, good to have you back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Good to be back again. So a couple things to go through here. So the California Transportation Commission in May allocated nearly $1.7 billion to help improve safety, increase mobility for all users, and strengthen the state highway system. In addition to these proactive long-range efforts, the CTC allocated $86.5 million to repair vital roadways and other transportation infrastructure damaged during the recent wildfires and storms in Southern California. Next item is Caltrans recently released the Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, also known as CAPTI. It's the assessment guidance for locally sponsored project initiation documents, also known as PIDs. So this guidance establishes a structured process and set of tools to assist both local agencies and Caltrans staff in evaluating new proposed projects on the state highway system to support the goals of CAPTI. These goals include enhancing safety, increasing climate resilience, expanding multimodal transportation access, and delivering benefits to the underserved communities. Next, the 2025 Caltrans Division of Local Assistance ADA Section 504 Program Assessment. This is just a friendly reminder that those are due on June 30th for all public agencies receiving FHWA funds. The local agencies are required to complete this assessment every 2 years, or the odd years, and the questions asked in the assessment are associated with ADA Section 504 program requirements per 28 CFR Part 35. The next item was brought to my attention last month by Member Withrow regarding State Route 132, the crossing over. So Caltrans is currently working on a short, mid, and long range proposed safety measures beginning at the east end of San Joaquin County and extending to State Route 132 or Dakota Avenue intersections in Stanislaus County. So the near term, we currently have an order in for some new and larger signage. Hopefully those will be in later this summer. The midterm, we currently drafted a conceptual report for K-Rail within the 3-lane segment, approximately from Old Fisherman's Club to Paradise Road. The district is expected to have the draft finalized by the end of this month, and then we'll be sending it up to headquarters for conditional approval. And then the long range, we're currently drafting a conceptual report for median barriers between Coaster Road and Paradise Road. And then I'll continue to bring back more information to the board as that project moves along.
Caleb, how long does it take to get that conditional approval? Typically, I mean,
I'm not, we'll be pushing to get it as soon as
fast as we
possible.
can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any questions for Caleb?
I would like to have you repeat what was happening between Old Fisherman's Club and Paradise Road.
So that's the midterm effort. So we're drafting a conceptual report for K-Rail within the 3-lane segment. And that that's going to go to headquarters to get approved, the conceptual.
So what does that mean just for people like, I'm just a resident? Is that a median?
So the mid-range is like, we're not sure what the right tool enhancement is for that section. So currently it is K-rail. And then the long range
What
is,
K-rail?
it's the metal barrier. It's about a foot tall and it
Okay, that's what we thought.
it looks like a K if you look at it from the,
This would be in the middle of the
side.
road.
yes, to help prevent the crossover.
The crossover
The
from
passing.
being-
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty, that's needed. I can't even tell you.
So, yeah.
There
So
probably needs to be more than that. Oops, sorry, that's pretty amazing, but we're getting something
President?
to at least create that barrier between that high-speed, two-way, dangerous blood alley, as it's
Yeah.
been called. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Go ahead.
I think it was your second talking
Mm.
point in regards to cap tie. Previously, I understood that 20% of the cap tie funding went to high-speed rail, and that during the governor's budget revise, it got, now it's 1 billion. Did that stick? Is that accurate, or can you speak more to what happened with those fundings?
I do not know that off the top of my head. I'm happy to follow up with you on any changes that have happened with that.
I'll look it up. I thought that was, the last time I heard that was the deal, but I just wasn't sure if after the whole process was complete, if that ended up being that way. I'll follow up. Thank you.
Any other questions for Caleb?
I do have a couple other
Got it,
things,
got it.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have, there's 4 funding opportunities available, and the district is happy to provide letter of support for any of the federal applications and assist on any of the applications that your local agencies are going to be going after. So the first is US DOT Buses and Bus Facility Program. So this is through FTA. And this is for bus facilities to assist the financing of buses and bus capital projects, including replacing or rehabbing any of the buses. That's currently at $398 million available. The deadline for applications is July 14th. Another FTA, which is the low or no emission program. That one has $1.1 billion. July 14th is the deadline as well. And this is to purchase or lease zero emission or low emission transit buses. Another one from the state, which is the California Energy Commission, $51 million available. The deadline for the applications is August 29th. And it's to provide funding for grid hardening or grid resilience projects that strengthen and modernize California's power grid against wildfires, extreme weather, and other natural disasters. And then finally, I had 2 items, a little more delightful news. So District 10 participated in May as Bike Month, and we had an event in Modesto. It was at the City of Modesto's Virginia Corridor Trail, also known as VCT, next to the Rosenberg Square Neighborhood Retail Plaza. And that event was on May 29th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's poster and photos on the District 10 Instagram account. So staff from the City of Modesto and Stan RTA joined District 10 in the event. It was a 1-hour bike ride. District 10 would like to thank City of Modesto and Stan RT for their investment, interest, and participation, and also the folks in the Rosenberg Square for their hospitality to let us use their east parking lot for the event. And then lastly, District 10 local partners in District 10 are going to be awarded a TCEP-funded project. TCEP is the Trade Corridor and Enhancement Program. So on the State Route 132 West Phase 3A project has been recommended for funding in the amount of $67 million. 26.8 million of TSEP state and 40.2 million of state regional. The total project cost is estimated at $117.56 million. So this project was one of 24 recommended TSEP projects going to CTC for adoption in June. So that concludes my report.
Man, Caleb, you had a lot.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Caleb, we got some hot news today about a new director.
Yes, that I did see that on my.
It just came out
Yeah,
today,
just
latest,
came
right?
out, yes.
Yes.
So Dina L. from District 4, she's been the District 4 director. District 4 is in the Bay Area, and she's been appointed as the new director of Caltrans by the governor just this afternoon. So
All right,
Thank you.
great. Any other questions for Caleb? I know we had a lot to go over there.
I just have a comment
Go ahead.
that I really appreciate the May 29th event and really, really wanted to be there. It was at the very same time as a grand opening ribbon cutting for permanent supportive housing called Jenny's Place on 9th Street. It was at the very same time. Otherwise, I would have been there. I really appreciated you doing that. Thank you very much.
appreciate that.
All right. Any other comments or questions of Caleb? Any public comment? All right. Bring it back. Executive Director report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I just wanted to make a quick announcement on something that has been really exciting. I think in my position here, what we work at Stanislaus Council of Governments, any planner, and I see Jose Luis here and Blake and I mean the staff. This is what we just are thrilled to announce to you. StanCog, the California Transportation Commission, is we're on the list for two projects that we were made aware, 2 weeks ago, Jose Luis? One is for our State Route 132 West phase of the project for $67 million of our Trade Corridor Enhancement Program. These are SB Senate Bill 1 programs. And then the other program under the Senate Bill 1 is the Local Partnership Competitive Program. And you may recall that Jose Luis came in front of you and talked to you about regional priorities. And we always look at our region's priorities first. And none of our projects were ready with the exception of 132 West. North County Corridor already had its funding set. So some projects were brought to your attention to consider. And 7th Street Bridge was one of them. And it did get, it's on the list. Nothing's confirmed yet until we have this meeting with the California Transportation Commission, and it's for $15 million. So we're very, very excited when we learned about those two that we are replaced on the list. So, and these are all competitive. We're competing with the state on other regions that have huge projects. And then just last night, Jose Luis and Tony Harris and Elizabeth Hong gave me a call, and it was about to give this other announcement. And this is like amazing. And I know it's dear to Elizabeth's heart because she did this, she worked on the study with her staff and for the Church Street Enhancement Project in Empire. And you may recall that we brought this to your attention that we had a shortfall. They gave us $5 million or something in the first, and we still had to come up with another $3 million. They announced that they amended their staff report. They're under the Active Transportation Program. They're making us fully funded. Again, another recommendation that will be given on the June 26th CTC meeting. And so, of course, we're going to be there in Sacramento. And any of you that want to come with me to come and give thanks to the CTC, I hope that I shouldn't be positive that there's going to not be issues, but it's for their consideration. The staff report is, and we'll be there. Staff, Jose Luis and I will be there for sure to make sure that we're thanking the CTC for all of this because it's a big win for our county. So wanted to announce that to you. And
Question? So
Hi, Dave.
that's great about the 3.3 million for Church Street, but didn't we allocate some money out of StanCog for Church Street project?
Luis.
Yes, Church Street project, in order to compete, had to come in with Measure L dollars. And those dollars are still on the project as a match to leverage the ATP funds. When we applied, the CTC did not give us our full request. They shorted us 3.3 million. So we came to the policy board saying, we have two options. One is to reject the award, the partial award, or to accept it, knowing that it puts us on the hook to come up with a 3.3 million if the CTC can't. The CTC wouldn't give us any commitment that they would, though I was optimistic. And that optimism, it has fulfilled itself. We are now fully funded. Fully funded meaning active transportation program about 80%, local Measure L about 20%.
But we didn't allocate another 3.3 million.
We aren't, no, not us. And the action we didn't, we committed to finding that 3.3 million, and there were multiple options for how to get there. One of them was the CTC, and they took care of it for
We
us.
didn't commit the 3.3 out of STEMCOG.
We committed
We
to fully
committed
funding
fully
it.
funded, but we didn't do amount,
That's right,
That's right.
exactly.
except for the original 2 point whatever.
That's right. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Rosa? Or did you have more, Rosa?
No, that concludes my report. Oh. No, Josie. Someone else is going to do. Thank you.
All right. Any public comment for the director? None, I'll bring it back. Thank you, Rosa, for that. And staff, I know we're still waiting on the decision for those other items on there, but great job. That doesn't happen without your work. And thank you. I mean, really, what else could we say? Thank you for all your hard work. All right, member reports. Go ahead, George.
At this time, I want to recognize one of our team members here. This person is, for the lack of a gold medal winner. This is Miss Erica Phillips. Went and competed in Toronto and came home with the gold medal in bodybuilding. There you go. So congratulations.
Wow.
She's embarrassing me.
Thank you all so much.
I
for the
feel so out of
support.
shape right now.
I'm super proud of that. It's my first professional win, which qualifies me to go to Tokyo, Japan in August. So hopefully bring another medal back. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, Rose.
I just wanted to, Member Phillips, I mean, this makes us really proud. I mean, it's just like an amazing, and yes, you're going to Tokyo, Japan because you're going to compete with possible, Olympics? So it's an amazing. It's like, wow. Thank you.
And you're going to come back with a report on their mass transit and how they do it. All right, yeah. Yeah, high-speed rail. Nice. Any other member reports?
I do have one. You had requested that the members consider coming and reporting out on local Measure L projects. And Modesto has one that is really, really cool and has to do with public safety and school safety. But indeed, Measure L project highlight for the month is the neighborhood traffic calming project that the city of Modesto has. This $600,000 project is installing speed cushions or speed bumps or speed undulations, whatever you want to call them, signage and stripping to 11 residential street segments throughout this city, consistent with the criteria necessary for what is called the City Neighborhood Traffic Calming Program. This has been really, really well received by our community. Everyone loves it because they see firsthand their kids going to school, and with this striping and calming measure installed, it's a safe place for their children to walk to school. So again, these funds, these local Measure L funds went to this project, and it's working really well. And the city of Modesto is just glad to be implementing it. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you for doing that, Rose. Any other member reports? Go ahead, Pete.
So I always like to point out the same thing, Measure L, why it's so important, the $67 million in trade quarter enhancement program. So we're continually, when we look at our long-term modeling, we're continuing to compete for funds. Sometimes you think we're going to be successful at the federal level or the state level, and we're not. And sometimes we think it's a long shot and we end up being successful. But the 67 million from the trade enhancement and the LPP, neither one of them are possible without self-taxing ourselves locally. Impossible. You can't even compete for LPP funds. And so this again is a return on the taxpayers' investment in Stanislaus County for taking a flyer with us. The 9 million is a little different. We didn't have really any skin in the game. But when you go back and look at how phase 1 was completed, how North County Corridor is going to be completed phase 1, they all have to do with state or federal grants. You can't build them without. And this is why you utilize Measure L and you have project ready, meaning plans, NEPA, CEQA documents done, because you never know when something's going to fall in your lap. And this is a great indication. They're great projects. So then I'm going to say, Jose Luis spread the news last Friday, and I got a call at 5:30 from Dave Lehman. Going into a weekend, I'm having a bad day, going to have a bad weekend, and I hear this great news. And so that lifts me up. The Empire Project wouldn't be possible without Elizabeth Hahn and her team and Comadre of the Year here. I just appreciate staff continually pushing us and, us pushing you, you pushing us, and continue to try and put up good projects to all the cities in the county too.
Any other member reports? Okay, I have one following up, Rosa, on Measure L funding it's actually in Oakdale City. It's the Southwest Downtown Safe Routes to School projects, and it's a multi-agency funding. Stanislaus County, SB1, Measure L, and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So and it's a big project of downtown Oakdale and the Safe Routes to School. So that's exciting to see. And that started actually in February, and they're still in construction, so they're doing a lot of work.
Josie, is there the other picture?
So,
We're unable to bring it up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. I sent it, so I probably did something wrong technically. All right. Before I move on, any other member reports? All right. We're going to go ahead and adjourn to closed session. There is 2 items in closed session. 11A is public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, titled General Counsel, and 11B, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency designated representatives, policy board chair, me, and vice chair, George Carr, unrepresented employee general counsel. So we'll be going into closed session.
oh, really? That's you. We got you.
Okay, we're reconvening back from closed session. There is no reportable action. Moving to 13, discussion and possible action regarding general counsel employment contract. We did have a lot of discussion in closed session about that. And is there any more discussion to be had?
Motion to
Hey,
approve?
Any,
The approving, we got to say that out loud now.
yeah, go ahead, George.
Okay. We have a motion to approve an amendment to the general counsel employment contract with a 5% increase to base salary, all benefits to accrue in same manner as management employees with 1 additional week of vacation annually. All other terms of her contract to remain the same. Effective April 1st, 2025.
So that makes it retroactive, right?
Retroactive, back
Retroactive.
to
I
April.
think we discussed that. All right.
My recollection is he stated to April, there was a date, right? Retroactive to April, whatever that date was, yeah. So I have one question about voting. How many votes do you have to have with this tab
Majority.
More than one.
of the people that are present this evening in person, not by agency or
Correct.
how that works?
Yes.
We have a motion.
Only have a
Have a
motion
motion on
on
the
the
table.
floor right now, and a motion and a second. Let's go out to the public. Is there any public comment on this agendized item? And none, I'll bring it back. I have a first and a second. Cindy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Member Chiesa?
Aye.
Member Graywall?
I'd like to see the result of the vote.
Chair Condit?
Aye.
Member Condit?
Nay.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Carr?
Yes.
Members Wallen?
Yes,
Member Escutia Brayton?
No.
Member Wright?
No.
Alternate Member Roque?
I would abstain.
Member Hernandez?
Yes.
Member Phillips?
Yes.
Member Gokin?
Yes.
And Member Graywall, did you want the
No need for an alternative motion as the motion is going to carry anyhow. So yes.
5, 7, I think I have 8. 2. Did you s- We have 8 yes, 1 abstain.
9
And
in
9.
favor, 3 noes, and 1 abstention.
931.
3 noes, yes.
Motion passes. We're at adjournment. Next meeting will be regularly scheduled policy board meeting, August 20, 2025,
Congratulations.
6 PM.
Yes, no meeting in July.
Hey, how Azul hasn't moved.